Hello and welcome back to my channel. So this is the last part in my series of videos which shows the change from the front garden being a herbaceous cottage garden style garden into a sort of subtropical style garden. And I've produced a series of videos, like 8 or 9 videos, which details those changes. So if you haven't seen those videos, it's well worth having a look at those. Each video basically shows me digging up the old garden and installing the new garden. And it's been quite a long project. It was planned at the back end of last year. So from sort of November time, I started to plan out the new design, what plants I wanted to put in here and how it was all going to work, because it was quite a drastic change and I was a little bit nervous about having all of the work involved and getting it right, because as you may have seen with my previous videos, my back garden is a sort of tropical jungly style already, which was started in late 2022. And as part of that garden, you know what it's like. You buy plants and then you buy a few more plants and then you buy something you like and you think, I want more of that as well. And on the back of that project, I started to kind of collect palm trees as well as some of the other tropical style plants. And the back garden was kind of like overflowing with plants, and it was kind of like, what do I do with that? Do I sell those plants? Do I kind of try and reorganize things in the back? And I really felt the back garden was really successful and has worked really, really well. And I didn't want to change that too much, because I think I kind of got to the point where I was really happy with it. So the back end of last year, it was very much like, is there the opportunity to transform this front garden, which being very traditional cottage garden style, a real contrast to the back garden, was there an opportunity to change this and make it into a jungle style, tropical style garden, but incorporating some of the plants that I didn't use in the back garden and didn't have space for? And that's been a real challenge. So what I had to do is basically formulate like a little list of plants which I hadn't had in the back garden and no space for, and then try and work out how I was going to integrate that into the front garden, because there was a few things that I needed to remain in this garden. One of them was this big topiary garden at the front, and I was very what's the words? I was very much trying to blend this style in and make sure that it wasn't a direct, it didn't compete too much with it, because ultimately the topiary garden is a focal point and I didn't want to lose that. Also, I had a large amount of lawn in the front garden, and did I really want such a big lawn? Because it was not really used for entertaining or anything like that. So it was always a lot of grass cutting and things. So yeah, a few things kind of came together, a bit of inspiration when I was away in Dominican Republic, and yeah, I came up with this design. And I was like, if I'm going to do this, I need to get the plants in fairly quickly and allow them time to get established, because you have a vision in your head and it tends to be kind of a 5-10 year vision. And obviously the longer you wait, the bigger plants you need to buy, and it can get super expensive, particularly with palms and things like that, which are very expensive anyway. So I will just show you a quick tour around the finished product, as to say. Everything's kind of been wood chipped, irrigation pipes put back into position, and all the plants are now in the ground. There's only a couple of plants which, if we have really hard frost, I would need to protect with a little bit of fleece. But apart from that, everything's in the ground. It just needs to now establish. It just needs to put down its roots and settle in, and we get a reasonable amount of growth in this first year because a lot of things have been in pots. Once they're in the ground, they will soak up that nutrients and get growing. But ultimately, it's going to be year 2 and 3 where you get the most amount of growth out of the garden and it really starts to look established. So yeah, so I will now show you the finished tour. So this time we're starting kind of up near the top of the drive. A couple of little tweaks that I've made here is I've now curved this brick border, which was straight along here. It's made the border a little bit bigger, and it just enables the plants that were there were always overflowing the border, and they want to spread a little bit, and actually leaving them quite small, sort of tucked against the house, looked a little bit weird. So they've now got a bit of definition where you can now kind of see the edge, and there's a little bit of a wood chip strip in front, and this helps to really kind of showcase the plants on there. So up near the front door, I've got 2 existing bay trees which have been in pots for many years. They're looking super healthy. Just above here, actually, we have a bird's nest in this viburnum, which is just starting to flower. And I slightly curved this border as well, just to try and match the other border. And as we go around here, so we've got the cordyline have now been planted in the planters, which is where the red robins were. And then as we kind of pan around the garden, see the cicerantiums, the little spiky plants at the front there, are settling in well. And you can see that the topiary garden has really, it hasn't been touched particularly. And it now, because it's still surrounded by lawn, you still get that nice definition between the topiary and the surrounds. But where I had lavender before up the drive, I've now got a combination of Syrinchium and little red robins. And you can see we've now got a bit of height here at the side of the drive with the Camrops humilis. The bamboo is planted in the ground, but it has got a barrier, so it will stop it from spreading. Let's just take in this view here. So this is obviously as you drive out of the property, and you can see the seating area on the left there with the beautiful tear palm kind of slightly obscuring it as you kind of walk past. So it really gives that kind of slightly secluded look. And then on this side, we've still kept some of the existing features like the little bug hotel. You can see every so often there's a palm tree planted in there, adding height later on. We now have the massive Phoenix canariensis palm, which was in pot all of last year, is now in the ground. It's slightly raised up, and I've mounded soil around it. And in case you're wondering why there's a plastic bag shoved in the side of this palm, it's basically I've got a little weather station with 3 remote sensors, and it basically gives me the temperature at around about the base of this palm, just so I know the sort of kind of frost protection. Because although it's a fairly hardy palm, it will go down to kind of about -8 kind of centigrade. But it will need a little bit of protection, especially being a younger one. It will need a little bit of fleece around it and things if we go below -5. But lucky for this palm, it's got a nice yew tree above it, which is going to give it a bit of shelter as it establishes. So yeah, as you drive into the property, let's just pan out a little bit. You can kind of see this is the bottom of the driveway here. I've always had this laurel hedge for many years on the left hand side. That sort of half obscures the bottom of the garden anyway. But you can see as you drive in now, you can kind of, it feels like you're on a journey now. And then you see you've got the tree fern and the phoenix palm. There's also a couple of these Trachycarpus fortunii sort of hybrids. We've got the snowdrops looking beautiful, and this border is actually full of bluebells as well, which have been retained. So although again they are kind of very traditional British kind of bulbs, it's a real kind of mix of plants in this garden now. So, and I really like it. I think it is a very different garden to the back garden, but it's way more interesting than it used to be. There's some quite rare and unusual plants in here. I think the log edging is really working well. It's sort of right, the borders look a little bit raised compared to the drive, and that really helps to give a little bit of it just gives that feeling that you're kind of meandering through the space better. So you can see I brought in lots of soil, and I've managed to sort of mound that up around the base of the palms, and everything's now wood chipped, which is looking good. We just got to basically wait now for all these plants to kind of fill out and become a bit more natural. So on the side of these banks next to the Butea palm and next to that Trachycarpus fortunii, I'm looking at putting some grasses on there, but I'm not sure whether to put evergreen grass or something like a Japanese forest grass might be a good option for this. So if you let me know in the comments, I would be really interested to know your suggestions for that, because the thing that I'm trying to achieve here is I want it to kind of look like a more natural bank. So I don't want the banks to be completely bare, and I'm not sure whether to kind of group plants in there or just have a kind of wall of plants kind of hanging over the edge. But I want to do something a little bit different with it, definitely compared to the back garden. So really happy with the Butea palm. It's looking in really good nick, and let's zoom out a little bit on there. If I go down like that, you can see the bank is probably less than 2 foot tall on there, but it's all mounded up with like decent amount of topsoil. It's not like composty stuff, it's like proper topsoil. It's got a good sort of sand content in, so it's reasonably well drained. So the bamboo shelter here, the little jungle hut. We've got this little bamboo wind chime, which makes a nice noise. It's just a vehicle reversing in the background. Good timing. So yeah, it's let's just sit in here and we can have a look. So from this angle, you can see that Butea palm has really made a difference on there. And then as you look up towards the house, the view of the house is partially obscured, which is what I wanted to achieve on there. We've now got a nice wide border at this midpoint. There is some bulbs being planted in as well, and there's some kind of new plants that I've never grown before. We've got a new kind of almost like a bamboo type grass. It's not a bamboo and it doesn't spread as much as a bamboo would. So I'm giving that a go. There is actually some groups of alliums in the middle of the shot there that have started coming up from the old design. So yeah, everything just looks so much more finished now, and it's just a case of it just settling in on there. So if I just do a few quick panorams so you can just see the kind of final design. So yeah, much more interesting planting. We've got that kind of snug effect with the little bamboo type shelter at the bottom there. We've got areas that are obscured, which is what I wanted to achieve. And we've got just much more interesting planting. And I've managed to incorporate both some of my favourite plants that worked really, really well in the back garden with some new plants which I've not grown before. So yeah, so really pleased with the final result. And yeah, I will do another video. My plans for this garden now is, like with the back garden, I will do at least once a month. I will do a full tour of the garden in its current kind of monthly state. It worked really well with the back garden because people could see obviously the changing of the seasons, and I want to be able to do that with this garden as well. But obviously the back garden's much more mature, whereas this one is very, very newly planted, as you can see. But yeah, really, really happy with the end result. And yeah, I'd like to hear some comments from people. People have actually been pretty good at commenting. It's been really useful just to see people's opinions, and questions are always good as well. And now that this garden is kind of mostly complete, what do you guys think? You know, was it, in your eyes, do you think that this was a good move, changing it from the old cottage garden style? And yeah, so if you've enjoyed the video, please have a look at my other videos in this particular series. But I have got many videos of the back garden and little tutorials on how to do things and little bits of advice and stuff. So please check out my other videos. Really appreciate that. And don't forget to subscribe and click the like button. Also, it really helps me out. I really want to get the channel, especially this year, I really want to push the channel a lot more, get a lot more subscribers, and be able to kind of, like, you know, answer your questions more and do more visits and things. And it's really the interaction I get from you guys that really helps me kind of keep going with these projects and keep improving things. And it's really good to know that, you know, you guys like to see what I'm doing here. So yeah, I will see you on the next video, and hope you guys all have a brilliant day. Bye.